Hey everyone, welcome back to Marketing 100, where we give you 100 of our top marketing tips to help you level up your salon or spa business. I'm Kayle, your salon and spa business bestie, and I'm joined today, as always, by my good friend and the founder of the Salon Business, John Hallberg. We talk a lot about marketing on this series. It's the primary topic. Today, we're kind of taking a different angle on it, something that I don't think a lot of service businesses really look at very often when it comes to it.
When should you outsource your marketing and when should you do it yourself? Especially when it comes to business owners in this industry. Like if you're going out, you're starting a salon or spa business, you need to be a little bit crazy because there's so much to do, right? You need to have that can-do mindset and not shy away from rolling up the sleeves, getting involved, getting stuff done. So I know if you run a business, that's you. And when it comes to marketing in particular, it's so close to your brand, what you stand for, who you are, what you communicate and what you say in your marketing is really a representation of that. And it can be really hard to draw the line of when should I actually step back and when should I do things myself?
John, we've talked a lot about this before, and you have a lot of experience with this. As a business owner, you have to be smart with your time. It's really hard to stop doing things on your own. You have to be a plumber, you have to be a psychologist, you have to be a lawyer. You have to be on top of so many things. And while you gain a ton of experience in so many areas and you grow, you have to also focus your energy in the areas where you excel and the areas that make sense for you to spend your time. Otherwise, the opportunity cost of you doing that is really high. Dissecting where you should split off and choose where to dedicate your time is really important.
I think it's more the things that requires heart, that requires an understanding. You as kind of a founder and as the originator in your business that has the full understanding of what it is that you're actually trying to do here. Those things you cannot really outsource. So when we talk about the first ones that you can outsource, like skills and talent, things that kind of could fall into that, if we look at marketing specifically, would be things like building a website. In most cases, I don't think it makes sense for you to build a website. It obviously depends on where you are on your journey, right? If you're a solo business owner and you want to get something up to represent you where people can go and book, sure, you probably want to do it yourself. You don't have the budget yet to go and invest in an agency or someone else to do it for you. But if you're a more established business, it probably makes sense for you to outsource something like that because you probably don't have the skills to do it. Similar with talent could be, if you're going to design some branding material, maybe even designing your logo or collateral or marketing material, that requires talent. It requires design skills and experience and sort of a feel for what looks good and someone who can really do that creative work. And sometimes we don't have that, right? So let's not try to do it ourselves, but let's outsource it to someone who actually has the talent, who can do it even better than we can. There's a lot of work, especially when it comes to marketing, that could be kind of repetitive. It could be okay, so your team is creating content and you're putting stuff out on your Instagram account. And then you want that to also be published on your website. You want that to be published in other places. It's just reformatting of what you're doing. Then maybe you want a virtual assistant or someone that you're hiring who's just doing that for you. You need to have that capacity and that energy to put that into meaningful things where really only you can contribute. There's enough of that work. I think a good example actually in marketing is creating social content. I've seen attempts when we try to outsource that to another external party to do. On social, you want that real behind the scenes, right? The deep insights. It could also be things when you're sending out emails, if you have a newsletter or a campaign, it doesn't really make sense to let's use an agency to write that. What should they even write? They don't know your client. They're not talking to them every day. You're the one with the intel and the insight of what should you be saying in there that would resonate with them. So there are those things that only you can do. When you're doing things where it's actually, I don't necessarily need to do this, or actually, there's probably other people who have talent that could do this better than me. Try to outsource that, get someone else to do it.
If you were to pay yourself and it would cost you, more money to do it yourself than it would to outsource to somebody else to do for you, based on the time it would take, then do the calculation. And if that's the case, then it makes more sense a lot of the time to have somebody else who's more experienced in it, will do a better job and get it done faster, do that task. There's other places that you can have designs made. There's other places that you can have websites created that'll cost you a little bit up front, but that pay dividends later on especially when you can dedicate that time to other more important aspects of your business, the big picture stuff that we talk about all the time, that helps you actually grow and leverage your expertise in what you do, which is running a business, running a successful business. All the things that really make sense for you as the owner to dedicate your time to.
There's not only like local talent that you can use, right? There's a lot of services available online where you can hire remote talent, virtual assistants, people who are very skilled at what they do. And there's these platforms that are available that can kind of help vet that talent. And you can see like ratings for, past work that they have done. You can look at their portfolios and so on. The one I've used personally the most is called Upwork. Everything from like just designing, coming up with like brand concepts, improving how I communicate. I would say the other one that kind of stands out is 99 Design. It's a little bit more like controlled. So with like Upwork and some of the other platforms, you're kind of like, you're identifying a freelancer or an agency, and you're kind of like working with that remotely, with that like individual. Whereas with like 99 Design, it's kind of like, it's more taken care of. It's more like vetted talent. It's a little bit more expensive to use. But I think the like service level is a little bit higher. So if you're kind of like conscious of your time, how much do you want to invest? It might be easier for you than to kind of go through and test different freelancers until you land with someone that you feel good about. So it might be a little bit more work there. But yeah, that's the route I've chosen to go in the past and that I've seen most successful.
Yeah, I think there's some great options there. We've used some of those platforms ourselves to help get some work done. We'll talk more about some of these platforms in future videos and how you can leverage them to really maximize your time and make the most of their time for the kind of skills that aren't in your wheelhouse. That's what we've got for you today. Make sure you get subscribed. You can ring that little bell down there too, so you always know every time we've got a new one. We look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon.